This video is sponsored by Cake Wallet, the easiest open source wallet to store Bitcoin, Monero, and Litecoin securely on mobile and desktop devices. When buying, selling, and exchanging crypto or trading for gift cards, Cake Wallet ensures privacy and security, giving you the keys to your coins. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Miss Teen Crypto Show. I'm your host, Randi Hipper, here today on a lovely Wednesday. I am so happy to be here today, and I'm happy you're here too. If you are here, make sure you smash these likes, subscribe, share the stream out with friends so more people know what's going on in the Bitcoin charts, know about our very special guest today, and more people get to learn about everything overall. Feel the zest, feel the love. If you guys are here again, say hello in the chat. Let's get 100 likes and 100 live viewers. Thank you, Justin, for the $10 super chat. He wanted to give you a shout out, Scott, and Mitch Ray, of course. And shout out to Mitch Ray in the chat. Thank you guys again for coming. I'm not going to waste any time. Let's talk to today's guest, the one and only Scott Carney. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me. We got it together. Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Of
I'm a
course.
fan.
Aw, thank you, Scott. I'm a fan of you too. I love TA. I've fallen in love with the charts, and it's an addiction. I have the charts on my phone. I'm constantly looking, and I just can't help but want to learn more. And you're someone that's been in this space for a long time. I've seen you collaborate with Mitch Ray, like we were just talking about. So obviously, we got to talk about Harmonics today. But before we get into the charts, before we get into all the craziness that is Bitcoin, crypto, and TA, I want to learn more about you, Scott. Let's talk about college, Scott. What did you think you were going to do with your life?
Actually, college Scott was I was been always into the markets. So,
Ooh.
yeah. So I actually right around my first year of college, I spent a summer on the floor of the Philadelphia Stock Exchange. So that got me into it big time. That was 87. And they had a pretty big option floor. They had the biggest currency exchange. So I was the guy that I changed the quotes manually. We had computers, but I changed the quotes. So the option maker would bark out the changes, and then I would cover a few different markets and have to change the quotes manually.
Wow.
But I spent the summer on the floor, and that was really just an amazing experience that got me hooked in. And I was already following the markets, and I thought I would do something there, but I went to school for accounting. I got a degree in accounting so that in case I needed a real job, I could get a real job. But it was yeah, kind of took a while to get onto the harmonics, but I was certainly involved with the market one way or another, probably for 10 years before I even did anything with harmonics or released any harmonic pattern strategy, but I always knew that the markets were the place to be for where all the action was business wise, at least I thought. And
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, no, just that experience gelled it at an early age.
Yeah. So how old were you? Were you like 19, 20 years old by the time you were doing that? Or
Yeah, I was like 18, 19. Yeah,
wow,
I
yeah.
was
So like right out of high school, basically.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what did you mean by like, oh, if you needed to get a real job? Was that like not legit to like be on the floor? Was that kind of like the
Well, you know,
degen side of the market or
Well, these guys, I mean, they only worked, they worked from 9:30 to 4, but they were only really on the floor like 9:30 to 11 and come back around 1 or 2. So these guys didn't go to an office. The floor was their office, and a lot of action, a lot of excitement. They made a lot of money. And but back then it was, go to an office with a company, stay with that company for 10, 20 years. Even back then, most people would stay with their company most of their career. So
wow.
I joke about that, but it's certainly for what I was looking for in terms of what I wanted to do. I really needed to have my heart into it, and I just connected with that in a lot of ways. And, I spent a lot of time in downtown Philadelphia in those
Mm,
years where there was a lot going on. So for me, the business community, I was doing internships in the city that really made me think about my career, I guess, years before I finished college. But I knew that financially I wanted to get involved, either in an accounting way, which made a lot of sense because I was doing a lot of analysis on balance sheets and income statements, a lot of fundamental analysis back then. And then, got into just looking at the charts because even, people who did technical analysis it was a very small crew and it wasn't really even accepted until I would say early 2000s. Really, technical analysis is trying to prove
Really?
itself for a long time. Yeah.
I feel like technical analysis has been around for like a lot longer than that, and but it wasn't really widespread. Do you think it was because of like the internet and like the accessibility to even look at the charts? Why do you think technical analysis took that long to kind of take off?
The industry was a lot different back then. Yes, the internet opened it up to the masses, the day
Yeah.
traders. It was expensive to even try to start trading, like a commission. If you were to buy
Mm.
100 shares of stock, the commission could be $35 or more, $50 just to do that. And you had to do it on the phone. I mean, it's amazing because that's now everyone seems like, open your web browser and get going. But
Yeah.
um, it it was a different industry. It was I think a lot more kind of closed door. And then what I saw, especially after the internet bubble popped in 2000, was that a lot of people that called the top in the early 2000s were standing alone because the technical analysis analysts were saying early 2000 this is it, for whatever methodology, and the fundamentalists kept saying no, the market's great, economy's fine. And
That's what
so
they
then
say every
only
time.
yeah. So the technical guys really were the only ones that got it right, and then they went
Wow.
back and said, okay, who really got it right? And that's when technicals started to get accepted and publicly used. And then, of course, 2008 was the other one on the top and the bottom where it seemed like it came out of nowhere. And then when the bottom finally was there in 2008, no one wanted to buy it. No one wanted to touch the market. But all the technical signs were there. And so we have what we have now. I incredibly, it was almost 25 years ago that I wrote an article, my first article, which was for stockcharts.com on just simple harmonic pattern strategies, relationships. And that's how I really got initiated into the internet, at least the financial online world, and started putting ideas out there that were working quite well. Mostly because every retracement in from 97 to 2000 was a buy opportunity because the market was going straight up. So it was, as long as you were doing a lot like this year, any retracement is probably a good long opportunity. But a lot of I was putting out a lot of ideas and they were really hitting. And with the internet, it just I think cream rises to the crop. You don't to the top. You don't need to really do much if you have a basic platform. I think you can get an audience, and if you got good ideas, people will take a look. So that's been, the route for me. And then certainly the internet was a big push and really easy to facilitate the ideas. So, that is a big part, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like as you're talking, things are just like going off in my head about the synergies between you were talking about the .com bubble and then you were talking about 2008 and how people weren't paying attention at the right time, right? No one was having like long-term mindsets. Everyone was like just in that moment, just like when Bitcoin was at 15K, people were still screaming for 8K, 10K Bitcoin. Oh my gosh, Bitcoin's dead. And then all of a sudden it just popped back up again. We're up over 80% for the new year and people are crying. They're like, oh my gosh, I missed the bottom. But if a lot of people maybe at that point at 15K were like, maybe the indicators are saying we're oversold, that, there's not much room for like selling pressure anymore because who else was selling at that point? So I think it's really interesting how people were just like sat in the moment, like the .com bubble burst 2008, they're not going to touch the market until it bounced back and everyone was like, oh, what happens here? I think that's really interesting, the psychology of everything. I don't know how you feel about the psychology of the markets over the years, given that a lot more, like you said, accessibility is given to people now than there was before.
I think, it's like perfect example of psychology was Bitcoin on the last cycle at the top. Or even a better one, I would say Dogecoin, which was one I caught that move. That was probably really my biggest move of the crypto cycle last time because I was buying that at a fraction of a penny and I rode
Wow.
it to about 60 cents and documented it on Twitter. And I'm not really even a Twitter guy, but I got crazy on Twitter. And then when Elon did his thing in Saturday Night Live, I said,
Yep.
I tweeted it. You probably go to my feed and look it up. But I said, I'm out of the whole position before he even goes on, which I was. And then, the other things that I said, but it worked out where that was perfect psychology, crazy psychology, and the
Selling the news.
technicals totally sell them, sell it all. I mean, sell every technical fundamental thing that was going on there because that was one of the greatest bubble moves I've ever seen and participated in for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Doge, even sitting where it's at now, we watched the Doge chart on the show as well, and it's like sitting at the 6.5 cent resistance. It's been relevant this level for like over a year, and it's just like, when are we going to see Doge make a comeback? But I think that was really cool of you to document the whole thing as well. And I think Doge was definitely like a sell the news type of event, and it's unfortunate though to see how far it's come down. But you see, like a lot of the altcoin market is down like 95+%, and they're trying to bounce back right now. Those little altcoins. But how did you build up your confidence with the charts? I know you said you really started to dive deep into TA. How did you build up that confidence, like work up your strategies? What were you first learning?
I really first started with basic trend lines, looking at charts. I mean, because
Yeah.
even looking at charts way back when I started wasn't a way that people learned about the markets. They wouldn't say, "Hey, I want to learn about the stock market. Let's look at the chart." They would say, "Hey, let's look at the income statement, the balance sheet." And then the funny thing was, is I was working with a resource called the Value Line Investment Survey, which is still around today and is a great long-term resource. And I would look at multi-year financials, whatever. But the thing that caught my eye were their long-term weekly, monthly charts, where I was like, hey, okay, this is moving in ranges and clear levels where there's breakouts or breakdowns, and that caught my eye. Where then said, okay, well the charts, maybe a company wasn't doing that great, especially like early 90s after the 87 crash. There was a lot of companies, the market, just really wasn't in a good spot, but the charts look great. I mean, there was a lot of companies that if I looked at the charts and I said, well, this is breaking out of a long-term downtrend. Easy relationships like that, where you look at the charts, you spend some time to get to know the price action, you're going to see the clear levels, support, resistance. And I guess that's really what got me started on measuring movements, measuring the market, as I like to say. And, that's a lot of people will say, okay, Bitcoin is the greatest asset of all time. And, just buy it, hold it, mortgage your house, and you'll be fine. I don't, for some people that have deep pockets, I think that that's okay. But most people, I think, need to be a lot more disciplined when they're looking at the charts, looking at opportunities. I don't think there's ever a missed opportunity. Even though Bitcoin's at 30,000, well, and it was at 15,000, well, I mean, if it's going to 45, 50, 120,000, what does that last 15 mean? Whatever the next opportunity is, the market's going to give it to you. Just be patient enough to wait for that. I think we'll get something soon. If you're looking for another opportunity to get on to Bitcoin or whatever. Uh, I think you see in the charts over time, markets move in particular waves, they move in ranges, and they have clear levels that if you just take the time, 5, 10 minutes, just to look at it, review it, you're going to have, at least the way my brain works, is kind of frame out any opportunity and just kind of ID the obvious levels. That doesn't really speak to any of the exact strategies or measurements that I use. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I started with the trend lines, but then went on to other tools. Um, but measuring the market, I think, is really the what I got from that. And coming to crypto with the measurements and trend lines, I mean, I thought it was even better. I thought that price action in crypto, the Bitcoin stuff was, really intriguing for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when did you find Bitcoin and how was it intimidating to you, the price action being that Bitcoin is 24/7, 365? It's not like the stock market that closes and even they halt stocks on the stock market when there's too much volatility. Bitcoin's kind of, and crypto is kind of like a free for all in that kind of way.
No, I love the 24/7.
Yeah.
I think anybody that's in the trading really doesn't care 24/7. That's great. Um, I think the foam, the FUD was certainly, you'd hear a lot of people say, okay, this is a nothing asset. This is, Bitcoin, this is pie in the sky. Why am I going to exchange my dollars for some kind of computer code? Um, but I think for me, I'll show you in a little bit. There were massive harmonic patterns, 2018, 2020, before the huge run. I mean, we had massive harmonic patterns where I was like, this is really interesting. And I was seeing, even on the shorter term time frames, remarkable harmonic relationships. And, it didn't take that long for me to say, okay, I can't ignore this. I don't want to be complacent with what people are talking about, whether they're true or not. I mean, I think for everybody, no matter what you're trading, I think you got to look at, you have to make your own decision. And you can
Yes.
hear the narrative, everybody just like exploding, but it is still up to you to make that decision.
Yes, doing your own research. It's what I tout the most on the show. Please do your own research. I mean, yes, you could look at everybody's live streams, all the technical analysts, even at least if you're a good TA person, you will say that everything is just probability, right? Like nothing's guaranteed, especially in trading. Like it's all about, what you think the probability of an asset hitting some sort of level is. And I think that's really important to note that you have to do your own research. You have to take things slow. I mean, I do charts on my show, but I'm learning and I'm learning as I'm talking about it on my show. And I think like, just taking it slow, trying to get the basics of what the charts are is really important. And I'm happy that you were talking about when you first started, how going over the trend lines and measuring the markets, which I think is really cool too, because even today we were looking at what chart was it? I think it was Matic, and the level that it's out now, I think it was like 74, 75 cents, and how far back that goes. I think looking at the history of the assets through the charts can actually give you a nice vision of what it could potentially do in the future as well. So I think that's a good observation you made, Scott. So when you started learning about harmonics, what was it about harmonics that really stood out to you? Where did you learn this from?
Well, there wasn't harmonics. There was not a harmonic anything before. It was general Fibonacci. People were talking about Fibonacci sequence and Fibonacci ratios. The Elliott wave guys would talk about the 618 retracement, 1618. There were other people that looked at different sacred ratios, sacred geometry, they would call it. It's crazy here. And the harmonic thing is something that was kind of an extension of what I was looking at with Fibonacci, and there were other basic structural zigzag style patterns, things like that. But for me, the concept of multiple price movements at specific ratios and proportions. So it wasn't one measurement. It wasn't one price movement. It was, usually like 5 or 7 different movements that had like a combination of the lock, specific ratios, specific lengths and segments that repeated over and over and over again. So, and the fact that it's proportional, you're measuring the proportional ratio, not necessarily so much a numeric value, made it really applicable across the board to any time frame, longer term. Then early 2000, developed the first harmonic pattern software, which was, I mean, that sat really, that was like probably a good 10 or 12 years before we updated it in a major way. And I really didn't start applying it to crypto until like 2015, I started looking at crypto, but really didn't get into it until 2 cycles ago.
Really?
And yeah, like 2000, I guess like the first stuff I bought was like Litecoin, some Bitcoin, and what was the other one? I had OXT, some real low floaters that a couple of them worked out incredibly well. Others did big moves and I sold them and then they went 10x. But um,
Happens to the best of us, man.
yeah, so it's a lot of that understanding, a lot of the things that putting it together with harmonic pattern strategies, of course, started with stocks and options early on, but I pretty much codified all of the pattern rules in the first 2 books that came out. First book was called The Harmonic Trader. That was 1998, and that was a trade journal of the prior 2 or 3 years of ideas and things that a lot of people, one guy in particular, a friend of mine from the past, Mark Douglas, who a lot of people know is the trading psychology expert. He wrote a couple books. I was fortunate enough to become friends with him in Tucson, Arizona in the 90s. So he talked a lot about trade journaling. And in my personal discussions with him, when he was a trader, that's what he did really to realize success. So I did it uh, in detail. I had like a whole file cabinet after a couple of years, and that's where the ideas started coming from of observations to then saying, okay, well, this could be maybe something I should look at next time. That became a rule, and then the measurements and those measurement rules became my trading plan. That trading plan that I started sharing with people and email when email came out. I don't really date myself, but when I had my first email account and started emailing people, I guess that was 97 or 98, was saying, hey, look at this chart, look at that chart. And it was working. And that's the thing about any
Wow.
trade idea. I mean, it either works or it doesn't. If it can't stand up, it's not going to make it. And
Yeah.
you see how people have received harmonic patterns through the years, decades now, I guess, that it took on a life of its own. Trading View, I think they really embraced it. I kind of they approached me years ago to do some things with them. So we did a few things, but it didn't really go that far in term for me or anything like that. But it definitely pushed the subject matter. So in the last 10 years, I mean, harmonic patterns kind of sat. I say sat for like 15 years. I would say
Hmm.
that where there wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of feedback. A lot of people loved it and they really got into it. But in the last 10 years is when it really took off, and I think crypto is a big part of that
Yeah.
because of people looking for ideas that work for with crypto, and harmonic patterns definitely work in crypto.
That is incredible. You're so smart, Scott. I cannot believe that. You
I don't know about
developed
that, but
your own software too. And people could actually get your harmonic pattern software, correct?
yeah, everything. So here's the thing. So everything is that I do, and it's kind of how I believe the industry should be, where you should make it the basic resources foundation for free. So
Hmm.
you can go to harmonictrader.com, sign up as a basic member, and then you'll see all of my books are downloaded for free. There's webinars, course material, free trials to the software. So and that's been another good way to kind of present the material because it puts it out there, free circulation. And I'm not, I don't like to haggle people. I don't like to hassle people. I've got my premium membership. We do that kind of stuff. But with trading, I find that the people that are knowledgeable traders that want to subscribe, I don't have to hassle with them. I don't have to fight with them. They know what they're getting. They know the nuggets I'm dropping on a weekly basis. They know the power of the software. And I've got 3 decades of experience behind all of this. So, that's part of it too. And anybody that's out there that wants to get connected with me, just log on at harmonictrader.com or go over to the Discord, send me a message. And even, some of the stuff, like my YouTube show that I do now, shout out to Mitch, because Mitch Ray was a big influence on me to get out there, a lot more. I was kind of hiding for a long time, for years and
Oh,
years. Like I really didn't want to. I put the ideas out. I had the books out there, but I wasn't wanting to push this as as really what I was kind of like semi-retired, and I was very happy just laying low. But after a few years, I mean, really kind of dragging through a number of years. I was living in Brazil for a couple of years. And then after taking a break, I came back to the States and I was like, all right, let's get back to it and let's do some things. And that was right around the time that crypto really was starting to perk up. So
wow.
um, yeah.
You're awesome. Everyone, please check
So
out harmonictrader.com. Also, smash these likes. We got like 90 people watching. We need 100 likes and 100 live viewers. So check out harmonictrader.com. And I'll put all the links to everything is also in the live chat and in the description if you guys want to check it out later. Wow. So Scott, you're just putting out this info for free and I'm happy. You have your YouTube channel. I think it's very informative and I think what you're doing is great. So I'm happy Mitch encouraged you to get on YouTube because I think it's a better way to reach people as well. Like educate them. They see harmonics, what's going on here with the software. I've heard of harmonics. Now they got the face to the harmonics and I think
you're
that's
getting the
awesome.
face. You're getting the face. So here's the face.
The
And I don't
face
do
of the
that. Mitch,
harmonics.
I owe you Mitch. I think last time we did a camera was Vegas last year. So I owe Mitch one, but
Nah.
yeah, no. Okay.
Nah.
Sorry, Mitch.
Nah, forget
Sorry.
him. We got the exclusive here. Sorry, Mitch. I'm just
But
messing around.
it's no, no. I love the crypto community, and I love the fact that people are into the charts and they're into crypto, even just on a financial level at a young age. I mean, for those, okay, so I'm in my 50s, and for those that are younger than me by 20 or so years, get into it now and really absorb the information because the markets they have only increased in the amount of importance in people's lives, the amount that people participate because public participation back in the 80s and 90s was not nowhere near what it is today.
No way.
And then you got this thing with crypto, sets up for a really, really interesting generational time that I encourage everyone, take your time, go slowly. No need, even if whatever Bitcoin is even if Bitcoin went to 50,000 tomorrow, I would still say there's a big opportunity there. You just be patient with it, go into it slowly, and then build your stack, however you want to say it. But take your time to learn, you know?
Yes, back it up. Yeah, I always say keep calm, hodl on. Even if like you're not actively trading, looking at the charts like a day trader. Even something I suggest sometimes like dollar cost averaging, buying daily, weekly, monthly. That way you won't have to depend on your knowledge of the charts. You're just like accumulating some Bitcoin. But I wanted to ask you before you show some charts. I wanted to ask your opinion on the market as of like the last, let's say, since the pandemic started, where you have bank stocks, for example, where people would look to bank stocks as like a safe asset to invest in. And then all of a sudden you're seeing the collapse of SVB. That's gone. First Republic got halted 9 times in one day, eventually went to zero because it was acquired by JP Morgan. So how do you feel about your like traditional like investment mindset now that things are kind of like flipped on its head a little bit?
Well, we've had bank failures many times before. I mean, 2008 classic,
Yep.
where the big ones went out. And we're going to have more. You'll have more. We'll have another bear market. We'll have another big bull market. I think we're starting a new bull market, but we'll have another big bear market in the years to come. And you'll have failures. Things that I've seen like the Bear Stearns go under, the Lehman Brothers, Enron was years before that. You've had those major catastrophes, but the thing is that you always come back to cycles, and you
Yep.
always come back to having to recognize that when things are really good, don't forget you're in the middle of a bullish cycle, and that will have to self-correct. We've kind of developed a term, this harmonic reset, where markets come back and they retrace 88.6% of their all-time range. which we've seen crypto do. Even, Bitcoin almost did, Ethereum practically did an all-time 886 retracement. That these happen. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the natural market mechanism at work, where even if we go to the moon, you're going to have to correct that. And the Bitcoin cycles show that look, you're
Yes.
going to get huge moon phases, but be prepared for that to come back to the flip side, whatever that is. On the 2 cycles ago, the flip side was $3,000, up to 10, down to 3, back up to 12, down to 4, then to 65, down to 15. Well, maybe we'll go to 15, go to 120, and come back to 50. I mean, something like that could just, it's natural market movement. And no
Yeah.
matter how bullish you are, those general cycles, distribution curves, that happens all the time. So again, when you're going through it, that's probably the important perspective to maintain, that things will get crazy. They will always seem to be crazier, I think, than they really are. I was, 2 years ago, I was very bearish in the market right before it topped out, and had probably too many personal feelings involved with it, of, you know, bad fundamental things developing that I thought were really bad. If it was inflation or interest rates,
Yep.
doesn't really matter. That seemed like it was falling apart, going crazy. But that was probably just yet another short-term cycle. I think it is something with crypto where you've seen it, where it goes through its cycles, but not all crypto are created the same. And I think you learn things with each cycle, like what survives, what doesn't survive. And so the things that survive, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, others, are the ones you want to focus on the next cycle, because they have
Yep.
lasting power.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. And like 2017, you had all of these ICOs. It's like the ICO phase of crypto. And now a lot of those things that were popping off in 2017, 2018 aren't here anymore. And I think that's like, survival of the fittest. I think it's only natural that the market kind of like washes itself clean. Like even this year, the past 2 years with this little bear market we had here with FTX, we had them washed out. We had a lot of bad actors and a lot of bad tech wash out, that if we went and ballistic, like $100,000 Bitcoin, maybe we weren't ready for it because we had a little bit of things that we had to get rid of before we get there. So I'm with you, Scott. I'm with you. If you don't mind, I would love to see some of your charts and what you've been looking at lately and how you feel about the markets right now. I think it's very important to learn from the one and only.
Well, thank you. Let me see. Let me bring that here. Let me try to turn it up and bring up Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's probably some better. Oh, there you go. Tell me how that works here, right? How's that going?
Beautiful.
All right, great.
Love it.
And I'll show you folks, short-term stuff right now, kind of the current thing, and then I want to show you, a few of the things that really caught me, that brought me into the space, quite frankly. So right now, Bitcoin sitting at 30,000 flat. We do have a pattern. You're looking at harmonic pattern collection. So this is on TradingView, and this does all the harmonic patterns automatically, which is great because what we're all looking for are levels.
Yep.
And the harmonic levels are related to natural growth cycles. And that's the easiest way to describe it, is that the harmonic patterns are the representative manifested structures of growth and decline, that based on their alignments have expected reactions, reversals, price moves. And the easiest way, again, to really understand it is just to spend some time in front of the charts and see it in action. And what we're looking at right here, that's a shark pattern, and that just developed last week, 2 weeks ago. And this yellow dot, that's our confirmation. Don't want to get in it too much, other than we're looking for the pattern to complete and then some kind of confirmation, like usually a relative strength variable. This is called harmonic strength. But in essence, what I'm saying is you get the structure and you get the indicator extreme to combine to give you that confirmed level. And so right now, just to kind of highlight, I'm looking for a little retracement here, maybe back to 28. and then we go higher.
Oh,
And that is the, normal reaction reversal expectation for most patterns. Let me see here. So the big number and the big pattern that, I've been talked about this for a long time is this what we call a deep crab pattern. Essentially, what the whole bear market is just a big 1.618 extension, and that's one of the primary ratio numbers of that last run of that move from 30 to 65. All you're looking at of the last 15, 18 months is of that bear market was a 1618 massive correction that typically follows with a 382, and that's another minimum harmonic level, and that's at around 37.2. There's a lot of other small patterns in here. You can see it, but that's the big assessment. And I still say, and I've been saying for a while since January, that 37.2 was likely to be hit, maybe by the end of the year. I'm thinking if we can do something off of this next retracement, it's probably targeted end of September, maybe before Christmas, but not till September, not until probably later in the fall. But that's the call. I mean, that's the lineup. We did have some patterns. I mean, really nice patterns. Just to show you guys right at the top here, amazing bearish to bullish to bearish that we had this small pattern here, but this was a big pattern for me way back in June of 21, where I caught this move from 30 to 65 or so. It was right up to the all-time high. And then for me, that was about it. I was kind of waiting to see. I was in Ethereum. I had a ton of Ethereum that I wrote up to the 4,000s. I thought Ethereum would go to 10,000, but it rolled over. I'll bring that up in a second. But
yeah.
the whole deal with Bitcoin was that the patterns, at least in my brain, were saying, okay, that's going about as far as it can go in this allotted time. And I was handling it well. I wasn't getting too much FOMO. I was really seeing it clearly on that last cycle. And I had no problem saying, once that rolled over, that I had concerns about the market at 60. 62 was a big number for me. And let me show you this. So come back here. Where to go? So here's the thing with the big long-term patterns that really caught my attention with Bitcoin. And this is going back even further. I need a longer term feed. One second.
All good. I really love this
Yeah.
right now. I'm absorbing this like a sponge.
Yeah, it really, I don't know why crypto has done so many critical patterns like this, but let me go back to even 2016. Let me get what is it, like Binance or Coinbase? Hold on one second.
Probably Coinbase, I think, maybe might have some good stuff.
I had the Coinbase weekly. There's three patterns here. I'll have to go back in a second. It might be a different one. But these two patterns, these two bat patterns, they were automatically generated. And I literally spent weeks off of this pattern right here. That was January 19, just staring at it. Like, what does it mean? There's a bullish bat pattern here. Is it really going to go? Just to kind of highlight it, the way that I look at any pattern move is it usually has a reaction and then a reversal where we look at target one on the first move. So if I'm looking at a pattern, I expect usually just go to target one, then come back down for a retest. That's a standard technical analysis concept, initial inflection, come back, retest, and then confirmation of structural support. But this case, we had, one pattern here, then came back and then did another pattern and then just took off. I mean, and I remember looking at that around 4,000, 3,800, hit it exactly, and then just started moving. And
Wow.
there was one of the one from, I gotta find this, 2016, which is, you can't even see it on the chart. Let me see if I can, gotta find it. I'll post it another time.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but there's big patterns, big weekly patterns. And, for me, I was seeing them on the dailies too, that has said, all right, this thing is extremely harmonic. And then when it did a kind of God candle breakout, I think that was like around there above 23,000. I thought, all right, the rest of them are going to go, which it did. Because it was, to me, that was a tech stock. To me, this was 2003 or it was 1996 or 7 with some kind of crazy massive tech stock. And there were a lot of tech stocks that did this kind of move. So for me, it looked familiar. Longer term, after everyone got involved in the mass adoption and then even the community, because I've never seen a community that is as enthused about an asset like Bitcoin. I will say that.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
That I'll agree with for sure.
So, but right now, where we are at 30,000, I'm not worried about it. I'm hoping for that pullback to 28 to then set up for a larger move. And the thing that, um, people shouldn't be surprised about is if we, simply do even a 50% retracement, just so you know some levels for now, don't get surprised. And it doesn't even mean that we're going to the moon. I just think, your minimum retracements are 37, 38,000. Your standard bear market 50 or 618 retracement puts you somewhere around 48. So I would say you're still fair game on Bitcoin. I mean, it could still be in a bear market, go to 50,000 and still be in a bear market. I don't think it is, but where we are already on the chart with Bitcoin suggests that minimum retracements have to be hit. This cycle has already started where, it back in last October when it bottomed, there were things there. I personally was one of the people looking for 11,000 on Bitcoin. I was looking for this kind of a move, come all the way back down to the 886
Yeah, that's
as a,
crazy.
but it didn't get there. But I still have something on the daily. The daily it's an ugly pattern on the daily. I didn't really crazy because it usually reacts a lot quicker than this. So let me blow this up so you can see. Um, and that main number is like 23,000. I think, 23,200 is just put it in your pocket. If it ever comes back to 23,200, that's probably a major low going forward. Really don't see if Bitcoin even comes back hard in any way. I don't see 20,000 or 25,000 really getting violated I mean, I'm talking cycle here. So I think the major cycle, and to round up numbers, for me, it's not really 15,000. It's more like 25,000 is the low.
Yeah.
And so let's project from like 23,000 and what are the possibilities and just say that was all noise. Under 20,000 was noise, but longer term, this is, I think you're still early stages where you've got the whole range up to 65 possible. Just on this next cycle. I'm not really, it's not a crazy thing to say that is, a difficult objective. I'll just highlight it this way. What's a good way to do this? Just kind of create a zone here. Yeah, just do it this way. Look, this is still in play. 49,000 at the top, but minimum, you want to buy every retracement, every daily retracement, any kind of signal that gets oversold every time, start picking it up till we zigzag our way up to 37 and change.
37 inch. I've heard about this 37 level, but 37.2 sounds very interesting to me. Listen, I'm okay because I like to this thing keep calm and hodl on, especially if you look at like, you know, that long-term mentality of like looking back to like around this time last year, right? And then looking back until now, it's pretty much almost the same in terms of Bitcoin price. And, you know, you would accumulate the dips if you were dollar cost averaging. But I do like love everything you're telling me right now. I'm absorbing it all. And I know you were talking about like the daily and the weekly. Are there any other time frames that you look at for, like, for example, you're looking for these type of patterns to play out? What else is indicative of, like, you know, confirmation, I guess?
Well, confirmation, let's go to a monthly because this is another interesting point here. The yellow dots are that's my HSI indicator. It's just a version of relative strength.
Yeah.
And on the monthly, we got oversold and it really generated and kicked up. We didn't get that signal till February, but it's that is early stage kind of move here where once we get that going, which you see it, and I think we're one big monthly candle away from really breaking out of this range. But I do like to look at the monthly longer term oversold, overbought, and we had a couple dots right up there at the top,
Yep.
right at 65. That was another kind of way to say, all right, this has gone a little too far for too long. We're there now. We're a little overbought now, but we haven't registered anything yet, and I think it's early. So I'll look at the weekly and the daily mostly, but the monthly is really where the big cycles tell me, possibility for change, possibility to at least have some kind of minimum reaction. That's what Bitcoin's done.
Yep.
Ethereum is a little bit better,
Yeah,
actually.
I know you said you had something you were looking out for on ETH as well. I'm very intrigued to see what you want to check out there.
Ethereum gave me a cleaner signal, and this was something I talked a lot about with my crew, way down at 29, excuse me, 1200. So we had similar big pattern. So you see this crab pattern, another 1618 corrective move of the last thrust to the peak. And that sits at right around 1278 or so. Um, went sideways for a long time, and then we got another little pattern, a back-to-back pattern. Those are helpful because you get like a signal inside of a signal, and
Yeah.
not every time, but you certainly want to respect that. And where the patterns are coming together, let me just kind of highlight this little zone because we were looking at 1200 for a long time. That when we got this secondary pattern, and this was back in December, I'll have to, there was, yeah, it was even November, we got the confirmation. And I sat there and I was like, that's a perfect, what we call a type 2 buy signal. But I was so skeptical. Talk about psychology. I was like, and I was on the live stream saying, but I'm just not going to buy it there. I'm just not there yet on it. And it was a perfect signal. And but the real point there though is that there were clear patterns down here, even though it's been sloppy, taking a longer time than I expected. All of this trading behavior you see that looks like a lot of noise is actually super constructive. I mean, this is they say the longer the base, the bigger the breakout is an old technical term, and I think that's what you're looking at here. You're looking at a long-term base on Ethereum that for the last several months I've been saying, okay, we're going to be stuck between 18, 17, and 2000. I still think that,
Yep.
but
Yep.
this is okay. I mean, it's difficult to really glean a clear direction from here, but I'm still looking at target one, which is like Bitcoin, a bit higher, 2400, maybe go as high somewhere between 24 and 33. I think again, a minimum 50% retracement, like Bitcoin, maybe making a run to 50, maybe Ethereum eventually makes a run to 3000.
Yeah.
And we'll see. But if Ethereum's not at 2400, say by the fall, I would think by early next year we're above 2400, and then we'll see. But the takeaway on even the last cycle is that Bitcoin's dominating. Bitcoin is really the place to be, I think, more so than even Ethereum.
Yeah, Bitcoin dominance is up right now, and even when Ethereum hit triple digits, everyone was shaking in their boots. Scott, it was crazy, and I like what you were saying. Like the longer the base is kind of better. I think slow and steady does win the race. I know it's like kind of corny to say, but I do believe that. And even if you look at like the daily like congestion, if you look at like the daily chart, like I do on my show, and we're just like sitting at this 1911 level, and we can't even break through $1,900 Ethereum. It's like a huge resistance, and so is like 31K for Bitcoin. So I feel like we're just like hitting a wall right now, Scott. Hitting a wall. What's
Uh,
happening?
a,
I'm very sad.
a wall. No, I think you
I
just
think
have
I'm
to
being
be patient.
dramatic.
Yeah, you have to be patient, I think, with the market and where we are. Obviously, the narrative is going to start in the next few months as we approach that Bitcoin halving. Let me find a good long feed on Ethereum that goes back. Yeah, something like that. Actually, go on the daily. We've been here before.
Yeah.
We've done this kind of basing, and I think I've got it here. I want to go back to um, more like 2018, 2019. And I should probably just clean up that chart, but we're kind of in this rut. It seems like a rut because you want this thing to move, but it's more like this 2-year cycle where we had patterns. And let me see if I can just clean up the chart by taking off the patterns. There you go. And I would think that much like where we are now, we're probably like somewhere in here trying to make this move to clear off of the low, off of this long-term range. And I think we will. We'll probably actually do something like this. I think this will happen on Bitcoin too. We're going to make a thrust up soon. I do think the next like 2, 3 months, we're going to make a bust up to get out of the hole like we did in August, summer 2020, 3 years ago. And then we'll probably still, not do the moon until we really get out of the hole and look at proportionally. So check it out, because this can be applied no matter what the range is, whatever market. But look, here's the bear market cycle from Ethereum from 2018. And you just do the high, the low, do your minimum spreads and look at what the price action does. The minimum numbers are 382. Okay. You're looking at and in a stair step kind of fashion. 382 was off of that all-time high was 615. So it pauses there, then breaks out, does a harmonic breakout, goes to the 50 level, absolutely annihilates that 50 to 618. That's where things happen. So the takeaway is that expect a lot of chop until we get above that all-time 382 level. And Ethereum right now, that's 2,400. For Bitcoin, it's set 37. So you're going to get a lot of this type of movement and this type of chop up and then back down and back and fill for a while until we clear that weekly retracement level. I mean, there's just, I have certain expectations. There's certain, I guess, implied meanings at the retracement levels. For example, what happens at the 50 or 618 retracement zone, some people call that the golden zone, can tell you a great deal of how far will it go. Does it blast through? Does it get rejected? In this case, it accelerated through. And the big number that I guess I'm known for is the 886. And that was a number that didn't exist until I really put that out in my second book with some patterns. But that is the kind of the final retracement number. Beyond 618 or 50%, then it creates like that segment where we go up to the 886.
Whoa.
Translate that to now, okay, where we are. Take a look at the action and take a look at our 382 level. And 382 doesn't come in until there's 2,400 right there.
Uh-huh.
So not a surprise to see this consolidation. But once we get above that 382 level, once we can get to 2,400, maybe we kiss it, go sideways there for a while, the big move, and if we're really going to see something develop, it's going to be above 3,000 on Ethereum. So if you find yourself very frustrated and we're still 6 months from now and we're still at around, 2,500 or 3,000, just realize we haven't done the big breakout. So if that is in 3, 6 months, or if it's in a full year, I'm interested in Ethereum from there up, go up where eventually, if we're going to do another cycle, crypto cycle, your minimum move is an 886 retracement. Just if you're thinking this crypto market long term, and I know a lot of people are, is just going to continue to grow, your 886, 4,400 kind of a thing, and that wouldn't surprise me. It just, until you get above that 382, you're going to be sluggish. The real acceleration will come above that level. So I still don't think anyone has missed out on an opportunity, because 1,200, okay, great to pick the low, but I'd rather go in a short period of time from 2,500 to 4,500 than sit through 2 years of chop. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I'm looking at that with Ethereum. But I think, again, I still think fundamentally Bitcoin probably has a bigger audience, sounder holders, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of the time with Bitcoin, there's a lot of people that buy it and hold it and don't necessarily like, trade it that often. And but on the other hand, you have a lot of other people in the world that are using it as currency every day. So, there is like a lot of give and take there. But I think for the most part, a lot of people are holding Bitcoin, which I think puts less selling pressure on the market if people just like are holding, right?
Yeah, I mean, people have to be look, some people have to be selling, obviously, and uh yeah, there is, I think, a payment activity component. You
Absolutely.
know, think of, I always thought of Bitcoin initially, early on. I was like, okay, is this like a credit card? Is this like a, someone said to me early on, I was like, yeah, Bitcoin does about as much transaction activity as the Discover card. And I was like, all right, I mean, I don't carry a Discover card, but they make money. And I could see how Bitcoin could be a digital Discover card. And it's way better than that, obviously. But I do think that there's real economic activity happening around it. So it's not totally speculative like these other altcoins and things that are the meme coins that have lost 95 or 99% of their value. I think that is different than just about all of them. And the fact that a lot of the meme coins and others they're just forks of Bitcoin. Now that I understand it a little bit more, I fundamentally, I would think, why would you, if you're looking for a move, an investment, why not just go with Bitcoin instead of Dogecoin? I'm going to hold Dogecoin, I'm going to hold Bitcoin. I don't think I'll go with the Bitcoin. But I think you need money to come back into the space. You need the institutions to get involved with this. And still, from the beginning, all of the whole notion of what crypto is has evolved around simply Bitcoin. So, and I give Bitcoin the respect for that, but I do think there will be other huge winners in crypto. It's just right now,
Absolutely.
it's tough for those altcoins.
Yeah. And do you watch Bitcoin dominance at all, or
I do. I haven't looked at it in a little while, but you can see clear relationships.
yeah,
And
because a lot of people really like hawk on the Bitcoin dominance and they're like, oh, sheesh, 52% Bitcoin dominance. Like that means the altcoins, they could have a run soon or, et cetera, et cetera. But
I had this traced out. I don't know. Maybe it's showing up on the weekly chart. There's a pattern there for sure. I don't know why it's not,
ooh,
my
pattern
software is not.
away.
Yeah, Bitcoin dominance at 40% is, not surprising where that made a low, and that should be a major low here going forward. I could see something like this. Check out off of the pattern. This is a good little range to follow it too, where, we probably go to, there's the 382 number, like 52%. So maybe we get up into here,
And
come
then
back
retrace.
down, and then we go like that, or even higher. Let's look at the long-term chart.
Imagine if Bitcoin dominance got that high, what would happen? I don't even know. I don't even know. That would be insane.
Yeah, you can. This is more. I get. This seems like a sentiment chart, almost like a
I would agree with that.
investor sentiment or whatever of, okay, identify where the critical tops and bottoms were happening. Not always a direct correlation, but it's not anything that I'm concerned about if Bitcoin dominance is 50 or 70%. But I do think that, minimum Bitcoin dominance could still increase even more to come back and retest the peaks from 2020, 2021. So 65, 68% dominance would not be crazy to think at some point you retest those ranges. I just think your interview with Michael Saylor was amazing. I just want to give you that props
Oh,
and
thank
shout
you.
out. And when I listen to that guy talk of what he believes and how much he believes in Bitcoin, you don't hear that about any other crypto.
No.
And as an asset class, Bitcoin it is, and I kind of agree with some of the stuff he says, where, Bitcoin is not crypto. It is a little different than crypto. It certainly trades like it has some institutional support versus some of these others that have lost 99%. Are they going to ever come back? So that was always my concern with crypto was you didn't really have a information feed on what it does or who's behind it, like you do traditional companies. So at least with Bitcoin, you do know that you got big holders, big money that staking their lives on this technology. And for me, I come at this purely as a trader, speculator, uh, chart technician. And I've learned a lot more about crypto, but I don't I don't really fawn over crypto any differently than any other asset other than, are the big guys in it? Is it moving? Do we have action in there? And do we have patterns most importantly? Um, so Bitcoin showing a lot of that. The other ones have been a disappointment, certainly. The trader part of me definitely served me well in the last 2 years because I wouldn't hold anything. Really didn't. I'm not really a hodler, but I will long term. I would consider holding the Bitcoin longer term on this next run. And I would probably add to Bitcoin if we get above 37,000, because that's where I think the acceleration will really happen. I hold a little Bitcoin, you know, but not crazy like I was 2 or 3 years ago. Uh,
Oh, sheesh, Scott.
I think what's that?
I said, oh, sheesh. I said that's very
Oh,
interesting.
well, I'm not there yet because I don't think the market is ready to move. I don't think the market's ready to really bust out, but I don't want to get complacent because I am very interested not in the halving cycle so much as the psychology around the halving cycle, where I do believe that whether we only go back to retest 60,000 or 65,000, the knuckleheads are going to come out of the woodwork for this Bitcoin halving, and they're going to, there's going to be a lot of next year will be a very fun year, by the way,
Yes.
everyone. Presidential cycle, Bitcoin cycle, you got a lot of bullishness to look forward to. So I think every day we progress and get closer to next year is a benefit for Bitcoin. It's going to be more positive for crypto, even though it's really not. I'm gonna bring up the total index because that too hasn't done a heck of a lot yet, but things like, I found that Bitcoin Cash popping off the way it did recently
Was
was
crazy.
yeah, but that's what could possibly get going. So here's a total crypto index on the weekly, and same deal. I'm going to run the same simple retracement ratios where we're looking at that for on total index to go to a 382 off of this move. And that's what, 1.6? Yeah, about 1.6 trillion minimum moves. I mean, this cycle, this the bottom from January and what's happening now is the start of a new cycle move. Is it a 382 or a 50 move and then we come down, or is it really accelerate? Talk to me at 1.6. But I do think we're edging our way up where total will get to at least 1.6 on this move. So I'm looking at that, but that's mostly Bitcoin and Ethereum. There we go. Looks like that. Versus something like Total 3, which doesn't have it. Look at that chart.
Wow.
No progress. If we, I'll be concerned on these, I like to call them T coins, toilet coins. You got your S coins, whatever. I call them T coins because they're below the S coins, which a lot of them.
Oh, dang. That's a roast right there, Scott. That's a roast. Wow, that was creative.
The
I like
T
that.
coin, the T coin is usually under $1 billion. It already lost 90 to 99% of its all-time value, and it's crap. But and that's this index. So I'm not. I really need to see that hold. If that doesn't hold, like if this total 3 doesn't hold, 300 billion, it's I would have a real issue. But again, why would I mess with that if I could just be in Bitcoin? If I want to participate in the crypto move, I've done it two ways: either go with Bitcoin now or the miners. So if it's like Riot Blockchain or Mara Bit Digital, those have been really good winners in the last couple of months for me. That's another way to play it. But I'm looking at these total indices. I would, I love the whole notion about crypto and how people get excited about it. And, the ones that really do have technology and could be innovative in the next several years, certainly. But Total 3, that's got to do something. Total 3 has to hold here and has to start moving up, or we're going to see something go on with those other coins. I just, again, for now, I think it's not going to move until Bitcoin moves. So eyes on Bitcoin.
Yeah, eyes on Bitcoin. And I like how you mentioned the miner stocks, because even Vanguard, they just, I think they're the top holder of Marathon Digital, and they just bought like $560 million worth of Bitcoin mining stocks from Riot and Marathon. So that they're extreme holders there. And so is BlackRock. I think they're the second highest holder of which I think was Marathon shares that we covered this morning. I thought that was really interesting as well.
Yeah, that's Riot was we had some big setups there in Riot, and what was the other one? Mara. Big patterns down there that I think these could still go. I mean, why wouldn't these all pop off in a cycle completion? You're already halfway there. And even looking at standard peaks from the last several years on Riot, if it gets crazy, why wouldn't it come up and retest a lot of that resistance at 43 or 40, something like that? So there's a bid there. It's I'm not going to say it's an end all be all thing, but for this year and the next several months, this is certainly moving, and against the prior range, it's got a long way to go.
Yep.
There you go.
Ooh, this is so interesting. I love it, Scott.
Nice.
Wow. Wow, would you look at that? Yeah, because hedge funds, they need another way to enter the space because they're limited on how much Bitcoin they can buy. So they get exposure by getting into Bitcoin mining stocks or crypto exchange stocks like Coinbase. And then you have, other like MicroStrategy and things like that, where people are like, oh, their value is now tied to the Bitcoin market just because they're involved to some extent.
Yeah. What was the really quick?
Marathon?
No, what was the, here you go. This is one of them. This is a big pattern. This is Bit Digital. It's another beaten up miner. Oh, I know why it's not showing patterns. Sorry, I had it turned off. That would help.
Oh,
Hold on.
yeah, I remember you turned it off before to clean up
All right,
another
let's look at
chart.
some pattern really quick. Major patterns. There you go. Major patterns in your miners. There's Bit Digital. That's why these are running. And they go back. The Riot one, we
Wow,
were
that
on
one's
that.
on target right there. Long
Here's
enough right
Riot.
there.
Riot was our best one. Right around $6.
Wow. Look at that. Would you look at
Yeah.
that?
And so target one is 32. $32 on Riot. That's still almost a double from where we are. So
Whoa.
that's, telling you we still have a ways to go. There's room to run here. And then even in some of those, like you're saying, some of those grayscale Bitcoin trusts, we've got massive patterns there. Look at all the, and so let me just kind of highlight all of these patterns are automatically pre-programmed based on, a sequence of algorithms that define the measurements and metrics. So all of that is automatically generated. And these were getting kicked out a year ago. These were getting kicked out, like starting to see patterns back in July and last fall, and now we're making progress. And this is still early. I mean, this is still quite early where the way that we look at these major patterns, they go to their minimum targets, target 1, 2884 to 3284. Not a crazy way to go. I mean, not a crazy thought here. That's not out of the realm of possibility on this move, that we started. That's Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. The Ethereum Trust was really interesting. That was also something that caught my eye that might be another way that, like, if you're not into crypto, but you could get into these vehicles. I had a bunch of patterns down here. Look at the patterns on Ethereum Trust where,
Oh
and this is
wow.
when, this was last summer when it was just in the tank, and yet it was printing patterns. And that's something about the patterns that you take some time to learn the structures and you just kind of get some examples under your belt. You realize, all right, if there are patterns here, which there are, then that's telling me something about this support. Like I, shouldn't get complacent down here at $7 or $8. We're still only 10, and Ethereum hasn't busted out. But when we do, and we get out of this range here, 29.56. So it's a long way to go, basically meaning get ready for the breakout. Because when the breakout does come, and breakout on Ethereum Trust is basically above 12 or so, that the consolidation, the basing phase, and that could be for any technical consideration on any asset, that usually takes time. But once we break out and get the acceleration phase, that's usually, I like to say a lot of times, twice the distance in half the time. So twice the distance where you go from 5 to 12, maybe we go, that's 7, maybe we go 14 higher off of that breakout where you spent 15 months going sideways. Maybe we went 7 points in that 15 months. Maybe we go 14 in 8 or 9 months, something like that. It's coming. I really think it's coming. The whole setup here for crypto has done the basing work it needs to do, without a doubt. Now we just need to bust out, which I think will come in the next 6 months, the breakout, and then the acceleration phase comes next year.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm so excited. This is cool too. I like looking at the GBTC and now the Grayscale ETH Trust. I think that's really awesome. Thank you for showing this to us. I appreciate you showing us all of the charts. Justin also sent a $5 super chat to remind everyone to go check out your channel. Absolutely. Again, links are in the live chat and in the description. Thank you so much, Scott, for sharing these charts with me. I really appreciate it. I know, like, we've been here for a while, almost an
Yeah.
hour. Actually, over an hour. Let's have a few questions that I wanted to ask you. How do you feel about, I know you were talking about Bitcoin, how you're not crazy about the space, but do are you worried about the banks at all, or you're like okay with like the banks and you're like, just looking at Bitcoin of more of like, how you were saying before, sometimes like a tech stock, right, in terms of price action, kind of just trading it versus like, the currency side of things and having something you own?
I'm not worried about the bank so much as I do agree with Michael Saylor's argument about inflationary, the how to fight the long-term inflationary effects of keeping money in fiat and banks.
Mm-hmm.
You need a return. The crazy thing is that when I was growing up as a kid, if I had my money in a savings account as a kid, I was going to get 8%.
Imagine
And
that.
this is, I mean, that's 79, 80, 81 when interest rates went to, 14% or whatever. But on a passport savings account, you could get 8%. Now you still get next to nothing. You get a little bit more now, but now you don't have the interest rates really where inflation is. So I agree with what he's saying in terms of how Bitcoin accounts for that.
Yeah.
And it's probably the only one that really does account for that. I understanding the fundamental workings of those kind of instruments is critical, but I'm still going to look at, okay, technicals, structural support, resistance for levels. What I think people should be positioning for now is waiting for those setups, understanding that your payoff is not coming this year. Your payoff is coming probably starting a year from now. I mean, your big payoff. If we're
Yeah.
going to go into that moon cycle post halving or whatever for the next one for Bitcoin, it starts next year, but you're doing your work now and getting through this consolidation phase to get to the acceleration. And I don't think that's affected by any kind of banks or what have you. The markets, they move in cycles always. But the underlying kind of premise of why Bitcoin is better than, say, a bank, it does make sense, even though it's relatively new. It needs to prove itself, probably another one or two more bank crash cycles. And like I said, we'll have bank bailouts and we'll have more of that to come. But banks are it's more of, I think, kind of an artificial story. I think the bigger concern is the inflationary type stuff, more for government spending. I'd be more concerned with, the country's debt and deficit spending, the monetary printer, the Fed printer, if you will, because I do think that, clearly inflation is a big problem. And if you're going to need to be in assets that appreciate and are designed to appreciate in those kind of cycles. And I think that's what you're looking for down here. You're looking for this to be the end of this corrective cycle for Bitcoin, and then let that acceleration phase come, like I said, next year, where the banks aren't it's still going to be a problem. You're still going to have these problems, and this mainly due to the way the government's spending money, and has over the last 20 years, because the way the government's spending money now is not the norm. And it was really not until early 2000s that it picked up dramatically, to where, yeah, I think it's going to be a problem that you're going to need to be in assets that appreciate. And I think, what Michael Saylor says about Bitcoin designed to fight that, will be proven to be true.
All right. All right. I gotcha. Noted, noted, noted. Thank you, Scott, for all of your information today, just sharing your opinions and how you got into finance and the charts. And I think it's like really awesome, especially because you got into finance around my age, and I see how far it's taken you and how much you've developed in this space to make like harmonics and make something that's just so relevant to people. And I think a lot of what you do is going to be used a lot in the future and beyond, because I think charts are obviously going to last forever. And it's something that everyone should know about. So I really appreciate it. I learned a lot from you. I'm definitely going to replay the show afterwards to learn a little bit more, dive deeper. I really do appreciate it, guys. If you haven't yet, please visit harmonictrader.com. Follow Scott on YouTube and Twitter over there. And what's your Instagram handle? Is it harmonic underscore?
I think it's Harmonic Patterns. I'm not really on Instagram. I should be on there.
You
Harmonic
should
Patterns.
be on the Instagrams. You got to be on the Instagrams.
You guys are, is it Instagram? It's an
And
Instagram
Threads.
world now. And
Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Scott. You got to be on the social medias. You got to be on the social.
I'm not
medias.
on. I don't even. Not even on
Mitch pushed
TikTok
you too
either.
far for YouTube. Like YouTube.
Yeah, I got the camera. I got the camera working today, so consider that a major step forward
It
for
is
me.
a step forward. And I appreciate, again, the FaceTime. I really do. And
You got it.
I think you're awesome, Scott. So thank you again. Is there
Thank you.
anything you would like to share with the audience? Where can everybody find you? And what would you like to share? It could be about the summer. It could be about charts. It could be about determination. Whatever you feel, whatever is on your mind, please share it with us.
Well, determination's probably it. I'm probably the poster child for determination with, and my story is long and complicated, but yeah, folks, don't ever give up. Quite frankly, don't give up. That's it. You're going to, if you give up, you're over. If you don't give up, you're still in the game. And I think, for me, I started with less than zero. I tell people less than zero from my situation, which is probably be another hour to tell you my life story, but it is something where for me the markets are awesome. I'm a market geek and I love it. I'm a chart geek, and I've also been able to make my bones in this career. And I don't know of any other job that you can do where you can have the financial freedom and the freedom period. Hey, if you got a job and you love it, do it. Do what you love. But I still think everyone eventually, if it's your 401k or if it's crypto or whatever, you're going to need assets that appreciate. So take the time to learn this stuff. Get with me at Harmonic Trader. Okay. Watch shows like this show and keep learning. If you don't know much, you don't have much money either, just start saving, start learning, plan, and start it now. Because look, someday you'll be 53 like me, and you'll be like, what happened to the last 30 years? And I'm very glad I did what I did. I mean, I have done a lot of things, and my career was really buoyed by the internet coming out. Like I really was starting my career right around 95. So, a lot of things like that were extremely helpful in my development, but I was never giving up. So, get in now and get ready to ride for next year for sure.
Yes, Scott, get it. Determination.
Let's go.
We are
Let's
always
go.
about the determination on this channel, doing your own research and making sure that you are making the best decision for you. And I would love to have you back, Scott, dive deeper into your backstory as well. I know we covered so much, but I feel like we covered so little. Like, you know what I mean? I really loved having you. This was a flowing conversation, and I appreciate everybody in the chat. A lot of new people are subscribing to you too, which I actually love to see in the chat. So thank you guys for all of the love. Thank you, Retro Mike and Justin, everyone that contributed to the stream as well. Please, my friends, if you haven't already, please smash these likes, subscribe, share the stream out with friends so more people know about Scott and his genius. And also comment down below what you loved about this stream, what you love about Scott, and how you feel about Bitcoin price. Can we smash 31K today and this weekend? Going into the weekend, have a good green week for Bitcoin. Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you, Scott, again. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for the Daily Zest. And as always, stay zesty. Peace.
Take care. Yep. Thanks.